Hello, everybody. So my name is Eric Willis, and I'm going to talk to you today about some of the work we're doing at RGI on the detecting of suspicious changes in OpenStreetMap's data. So next slide. Next slide. Thank you. So this has been motivated, can you hit next? By some work at the U.S. Army Geospatial Center. So they've been looking at implementing some modernized vector tile maps that have the look and feel of more traditional CAD-RG maps like you see on the right there. So next. One of the motivations here is to avoid limdis restrictions. So they've been using some OpenStreetMap's data for that. And as you might expect, and we kind of talked about this a little bit at the panel, there are some concerns about the OpenStreetMap's data and how you can learn to trust that because it is open source. So we've devised a system to aid in the detecting of suspicious changes to OSM. Next. So this is just a brief overview of our system. It's modified from OSM CHA, which is the OSM Changeset Analyzer, and it's deployable with Docker, so it's very kind of plug and play. We take in all of the OSM change sets from a specific day and the associated features with those change sets. And we use the OSM CHA Python library to flag any suspicious change sets. The comments, we can actually translate the comments offline into English, and all the change sets and the features are stored in a Postgres database, which we can then publish as a query layer to ArcGIS. And we've created a dashboard that I'm going to show you in a few slides that can provide some insight into these features. Next slide, please. So this is just continuing with the system overview in kind of a graphical way. We use Celery, which is a Python tasking application to obtain the change sets on a daily basis. And we run through all the steps that I just talked about. The feature services on ArcGIS do update dynamically, so every time we take in new change sets, the dashboard will update dynamically. So next slide. This is a screenshot of our dashboard, and so this is just kind of showing you what you might be able to see. On the left are the recent change sets and the comments that are linked to those change sets. You can see that there's a link that says more information, and if you click that, it will take you to OpenStreetMaps, and you can actually take a look at those change sets. On the bottom, you see we can look at the change sets per day in the AOI, as well as the top 5 users in that AOI, and this will dynamically update as you go around. One of the things that the warfighters are particularly interested in is taking a look at conflict zones. So you can see on the right we have our legend here from the ACLID database, and this will highlight specific conflict zones so we can kind of zoom in on those and see the activity that's happening there. Next. This is an example of one such conflict zone. So this is on the border of Russia and Ukraine, and we can see that there's a lot of activity going on there. This is just one example that we've kind of highlighted. You can see that the red dots here are features that have been deleted. The green dots are the features that have been added. And you can see some yellow in there, and those are just features that have been modified. So next slide. One of the things that we're really trying to look at is taking a look at biased edits in OpenStreetMap's data. And this is one such example of this over Zaporizhia, which is a city in Ukraine. And we have a specific user, I'm not sure if you can see here, but Dev Kittens, who has actually gone in and changed the name of that city to the Russian name, saying that it belongs to Russia now. And so this is a change set that we would want to flag so that the folks can take a closer look and see that we should probably take that change back. And there are some other things we can do too. So if you go to the next slide, this is an interesting case where we can look at the mapping of trenches on the border. And you can see the green polygons here, which are kind of small, are all specific trenches. But if you go to the next slide, what we can see is what we call an edit war, where there are 2 users that are kind of fighting back and forth on the course of a couple days, where we have one user who's going in and getting rid of those trenches. And then if you go to the next slide, you can see that they're being added back in. And so this is the kind of activity that we want to flag. Exactly, trench warfare, yeah. And on the right, you can see that all of these comments are highlighted in red, so we can kind of dynamically go in and search for specific keywords that we can highlight those change sets for a specific analyst to take a closer look at. Next slide. So the benefits of this interface are that it is an easy to understand kind of dashboard as opposed to just having to scroll through lists of change sets. We can set up the feature services to update dynamically, and we can start to develop some analysis tools that are very highly targeted. And it works out of the box. So the OSM CHOP project does take a lot of fiddling to get working, but since we have Dockerized this, it's very simple to plug and play. And we can integrate it with GeoServer too, if you don't have ArcGIS. Next slide. So for future work, we're looking to develop some unsupervised machine learning techniques to detect suspicious changes in geometry. So things like if a building has been moved. These are things that we can flag automatically with some clustering techniques. And we're also looking into some NLP for things like hate speech detection in the comments. And kind of going forward, we're looking to develop techniques to find patterns in those change sets. So for example, how can we programmatically flag those editing wars near conflict zones? And we can also take this tool and tailor it for specific features, like things related to the military or things like government buildings. So that's all, and thank you for your time.